Now, obviously, you built this radio show, built it up big, going out on Fab Radio with Paul helping out. He's always around, Paul, isn't he?
Nicest bloke you could ever meet.
He really is genuinely a top geezer. And we started doing the television show here. And then you became the worst anti-Semite ever.
Oh, yeah, overnight,
The worst, because that Guardian article that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, I've got a question. Clearly, when you turn your mind to something, you're very good at it.
Yeah.
You are a brilliant presenter. Technically, content-wise,
very
how you put
kind.
it together.
I've learned from some good people.
You genuinely are a brilliant presenter. So you're very good when you decide to do something. But I have Jewish friends, you talk to me. I have friends in Israel, you talk to me. A Jewish accountant.
Yeah.
Talk to me. Why are you so shit at being an anti-Semite? Why are you the shittest
My Jewish
anti-Semite?
accountant as well, yeah.
Because obviously I've bumped into people online who know that I know you, and they're like, why are you dealing
Why
with
would you deal with him?
anti-Semite?
Yeah.
I'm like, well, explain yourselves to
There
me.
isn't anything you can do about that, is there?
No.
I'll ask you. This is your show. I'll ask you. What can you do about it? My stance on Israel is well known to my listeners. I don't like Israel. And by Israel, I don't mean the people who live there, because I don't know them. And I'm sure there are 500,000 different types of people who live in Israel, as there are here. I've never been to the place. I wouldn't mind going there to visit the West Bank, to go to Gaza. I wouldn't mind. And I used to spend a lot of time on my Spanish radio show speaking to arch Zionists living in the occupied territories who would argue with me. So for your friends who are listening tonight, my stance is very simple. This is where I am. I do not believe the state of Israel has any overarching or overriding right to exist, but it does. Tough shit, Paddy. I don't. I believe the treaties which gave rise to it, the Sykes-Picot Agreement and the Balfour Declaration, are illegal under international law. I am, you might say, you're incredibly one-sided on that. You see the Palestinians, you see what's happened to the Palestinians, you might say you turn a blind eye to things that are done to Jews and or to Israelis and what have you. Fair enough, you could talk about that stuff all day long. That's the beginning and the end of my alleged anti-Semitism.
Yes,
I have no time for Israel.
Well, here's
and
the
that's
thing.
it. And I know a lot of Jews. And I know a lot of Jews have no time for Israel.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter.
As well.
Who cares about your opinion about a country?
Of course it doesn't matter, yeah.
It doesn't mean a fucking thing what you, me, or anybody else thinks about an entire country. It's irrelevant. I don't give a fuck about Israel, so it's fine.
Yeah,
you know, I've been there. It's very beautiful. I'm done. That's it. You know, the Palestinians, the Israelis, the people in Saudi. You know what? Fuck it. I haven't got the headspace.
Yeah.
I'll talk about it as we do, and quite often I'll take the side opposite to
Of
whatever
course,
anyone's
which is
talking
good,
to me
which
about.
is what you should do anyway.
I can't help it.
Yeah.
But I know when people have come to me going, the guy's an anti-Semite. I'm like, well, tell me why. I'm not going to name the names that I don't want to give. Some of them I don't. I mean, there's some people I like. Some of them I won't give them the fucking...
We're talking national print media journalists, some of these people.
Some of them.
Yeah.
And my own was like, well, he had Nick Collister on and said he did sterling work. I said, that's fucking disingenuous.
I did a bad job with the Nick interview anyway.
But...
Wasn't a great interview.
When you said, you know, you do important work, what everyone leaves out, you were solely talking
about 7/7.
7/7.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The 7/7 bombings.
Yeah.
You weren't patting Nick on the back for being a fucking Holocaust.
No, and I said
denier.
5 times in the interview that I disagreed with him. I talked about the
Didn't you call
Nuremberg.
him, basically called him mental at one point.
I don't know
Was
if I
that a
called him
different
mental because I like Nick. For people watching this who have no idea, Nick Collerstrom doesn't believe that Jews were gassed. He doesn't believe that. I suppose we live in a world now where you can't, on the one hand, say, I know a guy who says that the Jews weren't gassed, and I like him. I do like him. I do like Nick Collerstrom. Nick's a very eccentric bloke. He was kicked out of his university years ago. Nick Collerstrom doesn't believe the Jews were gassed, and he blames a lot of things on Jews that I don't think he should blame on Jews, full stop. Does he do that because he hates Jews? No, he does it because he believes it. And for me, that's the be-all and the end-all of it. And when I interviewed him to challenge that stuff and to disagree with him. And I did my job up to a point. The point where I stopped doing my job was I did give him an easy ride, which later on I didn't give the same easy ride to other people. And that's where some people get annoyed. I've spoken to Jewish people I know about that, and I've said, "What?"
Isn't the worst part about this with journalists?
Yeah.
You know as well as anyone.
Yeah.
That no matter what someone believes, you can find yourself in a position where you're having a conversation, and do you know what? They're all right to talk to.
Yeah.
You know, now, I've got a friend. He's been my friend longest of anybody, but he likes hunting. I think hunting is for
You hate
Neanderthal
it. You
morons.
despise it, yeah.
I don't see the point. If you've got to do it to eat, fine, go and kill whatever you can get your hands on, including humans. I don't care. Kill to eat, whatever.
Zombie apocalypse.
But he's still my best friend because although I'm completely opposed to that part of his life, that's not him.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, when you drop something nasty in that Holocaust denial or massive racism, it doesn't always cover their entire character. And this isn't a guy you have at your house every week and have dinner
No, of
with
course
and hang
not.
out.
No.
You talk to him on a show where if you're openly aggressive, you get no interview, like when I interviewed Tommy Robinson.
Yeah. It's the right way to do it.
I was on the phone to you, Richie, I don't know how to go about this. Do I go at him? Do I
Yeah.
stand? In the end, you let it be. Now, I don't agree with Tommy Robinson at all, but you know what? He's to talk to.
But your audience is not stupid.
But not just that, to talk to.
Yeah.
He's all right.
Absolutely, and I'm sure he is. Your audience isn't stupid. And we have to ask this question, I think, of ourselves. We're kind of being conditioned, or somebody or something wants to condition us to exile, ostracize, send to Coventry, whatever term you want to use, to completely get rid of people because of some opinion they might hold. And it doesn't have to be about the Holocaust or anything. It could be anything. It could
anything.
Could be gender.
Your thoughts on lockdown, whatever it is.
That's right. And this thing about racism, we live amongst people that, apart from something they might believe, which we might find profoundly obnoxious, we might do, we might not do, they are pretty useful and pretty decent people most of the time. And I keep banging on about this. I've written to the Jewish Chronicle and I've written to the Jerusalem Post, criticised me in the past. I've written very nice emails asking them to, debate this. What do you want to do with people who say that it's a big lie that Jews were rounded up and interned and murdered in Germany? What do you want to do with them? Do you want to end their lives? Do you want to make it impossible for them to earn a living? You can't do that.
That's not going to make them love Jews either.
Well, it isn't, is it? No, you've got to accept that these opinions are out there.
Also, when you get a guy who, let's say, has that opinion, but otherwise he doesn't go out and spit on Jewish people,
He's not vandalising graves.
If you ostracize these people.
Yeah.
You turn them into those other people.
Of course you do.
Because the other guys are waiting there with their arms open going, did they call you that? That's so unfair.
That's right.
And that counts for a lot of stuff. They're monsters. Come here.
That's right.
And that's exactly what you do. And I'm a firm believer, despite the fact I haven't been able to carry the promise through on every platform because life happens, any voice should be heard.
Absolutely.
No matter how horrific the opinion, hear it,
listen to it,
challenge it,
argue with it,
and let your listeners, because we've got to get away from this idea that everyone that listens to something is thick. They're not. It's disgusting way to treat it. It's what TV does.
Yeah.
In our world, we have to talk to people as if I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
Talking to Graham.
Well, they're going to give an award to Piers Morgan over the Christmas. They're going to acclaim him as the bastion of news, television, interviewing. Piers Morgan. This is not Sarah Graves. It isn't jealousy. I walked away from all of that. I could have had that. Piers Morgan is about the worst interrogator of a guest there's ever been on national television. It's dreadful.
Didn't he say he'd queue up for the vaccine? I hope he gets the Bell's palsy.
The same guy who was on Larry King's programme some years ago, on his own programme, when he was hosting after Larry King moved on, when he acknowledged that he was dying of the flu just after he got the vaccine. So he's got no humility. But even though some of the people Morgan appears to be tearing into are odious in the extreme, politicians, it's dreadful, it's crap, and it's just an old idea.
He's a brainless version of Jeremy Paxman.
Isn't it? Brainless version. It's Bill O'Reilly again.
He knows entertainment. It is very much Bill O'Reilly.
It's Bill O'Reilly.
When Paxman went after you, whatever your thoughts on Jeremy Paxman,
you got room to answer.
But also he was a couple of steps. He knew if it goes that way or that way.
You got room to answer.
Worked out.
Yeah.
Piers Morgan grandstands.
It's all about me. Me. You find that as well. Do you know where you find that? This will piss off a lot of people watching this. You'll find this in the independent media. It's rampant.
Oh, yes.
Guests become props to elevate the interviewer, the host, in the eyes of the audience. You see this all the time. It astonishes me. And for me, it's a big barrier, ultimately, to drawing in the on-the-fence people. I want people on the fence to listen to some of my guests about things like COVID. I want them to just listen. The guest is a star. The information is a star, not the presenter. But you summed Morgan up beautifully, and people like Morgan. You got James O'Brien doing the same thing on LBC, shouting at people and interrupting them. And it's rubbish. It's rubbish broadcasting. Yeah.
We know when I stopped doing interviews.
Yet, by the way, to go back to the anti-Semitism thing, because before I forget to say this, I think one of the reasons, I tried to get involved with Stephen Pollard, but he wouldn't have anything to do with me. I tried to speak to him privately. I think one of the things that, the real bee in their bonnet was putting people on the air. That was their problem.
Yeah, platforming, I believe.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. By putting them on the air, you must like what they're saying, otherwise you wouldn't do it. Now, I'm an old school producer and presenter. I can't do a radio show every day of the week, and I know you can't do these podcasts, if you're sitting with somebody whom you see the world exactly the same as they do. Nothing could be more annoying or more boring than that. So I think the Wikipedia page says Alan seeks out people on the right more often because it's more interesting. Well, that's true. Yeah, that's. Well, I don't know how it's phrased, but something along those lines. It is true. Like, I put some of them on, Lana, Lochtef, and some of these people, not because I want to look at them like I'm looking at ants under a magnifying glass. No, because I know they're intelligent.
Yeah, but how do you tick? What do you think?
Where did you get to that? I interviewed a guy. Do you remember that guy who did really well in the California primary? The guy who believes that the Jews have an evil gene. Yes. I brought him on.
Yes.
That's fantastic. He believes.
It's great. It's great content.
It's great content. I'm obviously I'm not bringing him on to go all Piers Morgan into grandstand and show how much I'm a defender of the Jews. No, but you want to know, where did you get to that point in your life? You're obviously very articulate. You can read, you can write. You've got a university degree.
Where the fuck did you come up with the evil gene from?
And he did his best to convince me.
Yeah, of course. But isn't that the part of it, that you're not letting them on your show and letting them
run riot? Yeah.
You're not letting them advocate violence or hatred, because you wouldn't.
Don't agree.
And if they try, that's when you do steamroller people, because it's what you do. Because any guest that does, again, I'm going there, if they hand you the knife and show you the throat, and that's life. But if we don't know about these people, how do we understand these people? I get it. Why don't you get a trans activist, though, to argue you? Tried.
Done your level best. We both have.
They won't talk to
Won't come on, no.
Because apparently you'll record it and edit it, and it's like, we don't even edit our own shows.
Yeah.
Why would I do that to you? And also, I hate to break it to you, it's live. There's not a lot I can do. There's no magic. But so far, we've struggled, because I think they think they're just going to get lambasted. So I send them. We held a debate between Sarah Phillimore, who was a guest.
Yeah, it was very good. And
the trans activist, and I showed that I take myself out.
Yeah.
Completely.
You're just there to make sure equal time.
I will do that in a chat with you.
No matter how much you email, no matter how many times you say, I swear to God, I'm going to be a gentleman. When I finish saying what I'm saying, I will let you say whatever you want. I've had it out with some of these. The likes of Stephen Pollard and these people, the campaign against anti-Semitism. Now, I loathe and detest the campaign against anti-Semitism for very good reasons. This Gideon Falter guy, this charity that shouldn't be a charity, I despise them. But again, I said to these people, listen, I'll give you all the time in the world. It doesn't matter how much you promise them. And then you know that they're dodgy, because you say to them, listen, if you come on my radio show and I go off like Pete Tong, if I go all Piers Morgan, I'm going to look like a fucking arsehole. And you then go and get to make a video. Look at this fucking skin-headed, racist Nazi bastard. But so they're not coming on. You talked there about the trans activists. A few weeks back, gentleman reluctantly came on to speak to me. A black gentleman, former police officer, who blew the whistle on genuinely shitty, racist things that were happening when he was a police officer. I totally believed him. And he came on, and it was an interesting interview, but afterwards he was properly cheesed off, and a lot of his followers were really cheesed off, a lot of his black followers, because we brought it to the modern day, and he was telling me about racist things, and I was saying, well, no, those things could be interpreted differently. A lot of people got cheesed off because I'm supposed to accept, so if they say it's racist, well, it must be. Now, this is a whole other area now that you're starting to get into. Well, not starting, you've been getting into this for a long time. This thing where if I believe something and I tell you, you have to accept it.
You have to accept my lived experience.
That's right. And I'm saying, well, no. And I kept challenging this guy about some of these things that were supposed to be racist. And I said, they're not racist. I don't believe they are necessarily, and I don't believe that the UK is institutionally racist. I don't believe it is. And I must send the usual text, send the usual email to say thanks very much for coming on and all of that. Not impressed. And I'm like, wow, if you can't stand up to the most gentlest of scrutiny, you know, and that's we're moving there, and this is going to become more and more visible. This you know, you're going to see it in the mainstream media. You're going to see presenters who won't go anywhere near it.